Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So today is Thursday. So yesterday we had a stat card for Heimdall. So he his first appearance was Journey into Mystery 85. Um that's just like two issues after Thor was first introduced, and Odin is actually mentioned in Journey into Mystery 85, and then his first like full appearance is one issue later. So for Heimdall, it says height 7 feet 2 inches, weight 575, intelligence 3, strength 5, speed 2, durability 3, energy 1, skills 5. So the only two other Asgardians we have as of now are Loki and Balder. And of course, Loki is the adopted son of Odin. And his intelligence is 5, strength 5, so same on strength, speed 3, so higher than Heimdall, energy, durability for Loki is 6, durability for Heimdall is 3, energy is 6. Heimdall just has 1, skills 3, but Heimdall's skills are 5, so interesting. And I would say Heimdall's skills, except for the durability, are the same as Balder's. Balder has a 6 for durability. And Balder, of course, is the son of Frigga and Odin. Because, interestingly enough, Thor, his mom is, I don't know how to pronounce it, but kind of makes me think of Gaia, like the Mother Earth goddess. It's one of the elder gods, and her brother is that god who starts with this, like, it's Chton, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce that. And he's the creator of the Darkhold. So yeah, interestingly enough. Yeah. Okay. So one thing about Heimdall that I really like is that he was set to be married. Unfortunately, a war broke out and tore them apart, so they didn't get married. But since he can see everything and hear everything, and that's why he's like the guardian of the Asgardian, the entrance to Asgard, the bridge. They made a wedding dress that he couldn't see. I thought that was so cute because, of course, groom's not supposed to see the bride's dress before the wedding. That sort of, old tradition. So I thought that was cute. And he was once king of Asgard when Odin was in his Odin sleep. When the Bifrost was broken, he actually had a relationship with the Enchantress. He's only let people slip by him 2 or 3 times. One of them was like an air spirit, but he was so ashamed that he told Odin right away, and so Odin took care of it. And then one was Loki, when Loki turned into a snake and slithered by him. Okay, so I'm excited about this because it's Captain Britain, and this is kind of the only, I will say, X-Men related ish character we've had so far, besides Scarlet Witch, which she's not. Of course, in the beginning she was part of Magneto's Brotherhood and stuff, but she's not. She's definitely more associated with the Avengers, but I still call her X-Men adjacent because she is a mutant. Was responsible for M Day. But anyway, so I'm excited that we have an X-Men character. But of course, Captain Britain, he first appeared in Captain Britain 1 in 1976 for the Marvel UK division. And it wasn't till his first appearance like with Spider-Man that he kind of became like more mainstream. So the story goes that his mom and his dad died in an accident, and they thought it was an accident, but actually his dad's sentient computer mastermind killed them both. Merlin and his daughter Roma, we've seen Roma before. She was in Fall of the Mutants, the X-Men story, which I have a video on that, which I guess I could put in the comments so you can see, what she looks like and everything. So they found Brian, who was like very like the accident. He was rushing on his motorcycle to, save his parents, but he had an accident himself, and they found him, and he was almost fatally like wounded. So they healed him and granted him the powers of Captain Britain. So, so apparently, like, Brian is brilliant. He has a PhD in physics, and of course, his twin sister is Betsy Braddock, Psylocke. Of course, she, you know, that's a whole nother. We won't get into that. The whole complicated history, behind that, behind her. I'm pretty sure I've talked about that in another video. Anyway, so twin sister Betsy, she, when she first appeared in like Captain Britain 8, she was, just a model, and the sister, and they have an older brother named Jamie, and he likes to drive race cars and all kinds of stuff. So the story is it's pretty sad. He goes to America to study. He becomes roommates with Peter briefly. But he's really homesick and depressed, and so he starts drinking a lot. And he actually beats a supervillain like to within an inch of his life. And he feels so ashamed, and so he pays for the hospital bills, and he kind of, quits for a while. He does this a lot. He like quits for a while and comes back, or and kind of his powers in the beginning were based on like his kind of partly on his confidence. Like Roma and Merlin gave him a choice, either this sword of might or the amulet of right. And Brian never considered himself a warrior, so he chose the amulet, which that choice granted him the powers of Captain Britain. And in the beginning, his powers were like tied to his suit. So anyway, yeah, one of the huge stories with him was the Mad Jim Jaspers. And so there's a whole Captain Britain corps, and they exist on every single Earth, in all the dimensions, all the realities. And there's this place called the overworld, the other world, where they basically keep track of everything, keep track of all the dimensions, and they, police the dimensions, and, make sure reality is okay. It's not going to collapse or anything. And so Roma is like the guardian of all that. But at some point, Saturnine overthrows Roma and replaces her. And Saturnine, she actually doesn't care what it takes to save, all the alternate realities and the universes and dimensions. She doesn't care. Like, if a bunch of people died, oh well, it doesn't matter, as long as everything is safe. She has her own, like, kind of like her own Captain Britain Corps, but they're her own personal guard. So anyway, there's a lot of stories about magic, about Merlin, Roma, Mordred, Morgan Le Fay. So okay, so Mad Jim Jaspers. I'm going to try to summarize this really quick. So on Earth 238, he basically is this has reality warping powers. He completely kind of destroys that world, and they're afraid that will extend to other worlds. And so Mad Jim Jaspers has created this Fury, who's like a cyborg android kind of thing. And the Fury's job is to kill all the superpowered beings, so that his master, Mad Jim, is the only one that has superpowers. He almost succeeds. He kills everyone, well, all of them except for Captain UK. So Captain Britain goes and tries to stop him. Unfortunately, he's killed, and he is once the Fury has achieved his objective of killing all the superpowered beings in dimension 238, he deactivates. But then Merlin resurrects, which this happens a lot too, resurrects Brian, and then the Fury reactivates because he realized, oh, I missed one, I guess, because he still has Brian's signature, because Brian was in his world. So he basically programs himself for interdimensional travel. He goes after Brian. Unfortunately, he's like, well, not unfortunately, because he's a bad guy, but he's super weak. He like has to absorb like a homeless guy, a homeless woman, like some animals, and part of a motorcycle to even like, you know, be almost okay. So Captain UK followed him to 616 and kills him with her bare hands because she's mad at him because the Fury killed her husband. So, and what happens is they actually completely destroy Earth 238 in order to like stop the madness from spreading. That's what like Mandragon, who is in charge of, you know, that office at the time, Guardian of the Universes or whatever. That's what he decides. Wasn't best decision, but that's what he decided, and he tries to blame Saturnine for this whole mess. Okay, anyway, so sorry, I'm getting distracted. So Captain Britain, after all that, he is like, I need a break. So he goes and kind of goes on vacation. So the British intelligence approaches Betsy and says, hey, will you fill in as Captain Britain until your brother kind of comes back? I mean, actually, we don't even know if he's coming back. So can you just like fill in for him? And she agrees. But unfortunately, like this is, way before she had a better handle on her powers. So unfortunately, she's not up to the task. She faces this villain called Slaymaster, and he actually, like, and this is how this happens. He actually rips out her eyes, and Brian, them being twins, he like feels Betsy's pain and rushes to her side, and okay, I got a little ahead of myself. Brian actually is insulted that the British intelligence asked Betsy to be Captain Britain, so he quits. Anyway, but he comes rushing back when he feels her pain. He kills Slaymaster, and Betsy goes somewhere else with one of her friends to their manor to recuperate, and that's where Mojo kidnaps her and gives her the new bionic eyes. So, and then after Fall of the Mutants, which again, Roma, I have videos on that, happened, everyone thinks the X-Men are dead. So they form Excalibur. And then after, so the mastermind, the sentient computer that killed Brian's parents, oh, and it was rumored that Brian's dad was actually a member of the Captain Britain Corps himself, and he was sent to this Earth specifically in order to find, Brian's mom in order to produce Brian. So, so Mastermind returns, and he pretends to be Roma, and he wants the Sword of Might and the Amulet of Right, because if you put them together, that grants like cosmic level powers, and you can remake the universe with it, basically. So, Brian basically gets a hologram from his dad. His dad reactivates his powers, and he gains Excalibur as well. So he is off, with in the other world, of course he's met Megan, they get engaged, they get married on Otherworld. They actually become in charge, like Roma leaves them in charge of the Otherworld. He gets pulled back to Earth when House of M happens. He has to make sure that this doesn't continue to the other realities and destroy all of reality, basically. Oh, and so after that, a new Excalibur team is formed. Megan actually sacrifices herself to prevent, the House of M, like, completely, like, overtaking realities. She closes a portal. So they think Megan's dead. And this image, okay, this is where we are now. This is MI13 when he joins the British intelligence, and that is actually a Skrull that he's fighting, because this is during a secret invasion. So yeah, that's during Secret Invasion, and then after that, he actually sees Megan in the Dream Corridor, because this villain basically takes you to the Dream Corridor and gives you your heart's desire. Um, and he thinks he sees Megan, but he's like, well, no, it can't be Megan because she's dead. But it was actually Megan, and she had been trapped in hell, and Doctor Doom actually bargained her out to Dracula, and then when they defeat Dracula, they get her back. And so, and then, yeah, in kind of a weird twist of, well, comic books are weird, I mean, soap operas. I've said that so many times before. So anyway, Betsy ends up killing Jamie, the older brother, because this villain comes, and apparently it's the older evil version of Jamie. And in order to defeat Jamie, basically she's left with no choice. She has to kill Jamie in the present day. And she's really upset at Brian for like making her do that, so to speak. Like there was no other choice. And she's also mad at him because the Council of Otherworld had decided that Phantom X should be put on trial for killing young Apocalypse, even though, of course, killing, it's kind of like the whole debate, like, if you could go back in time and kill Hitler as, a baby, would you? That sort of thing. And then, okay, like, present day kind of X of Swords happens. Betsy and Brian are both champions of Krakoa. And Betsy has the sword, the Starlight Sword, and Brian has, of course, Excalibur's Sword of Might. And so then he becomes Captain Avalon because he draws the Sword of Might, not in anger. So anyway, that's like a really, probably, okay, it was kind of brief, but not really. But I got really excited because this is the first, like, X-Men specifically tied character we've had. Because, of course, like I said, Excalibur, I loved Excalibur. That was such a fun series. With Nightcrawler, I love Nightcrawler and Rachel and Kitty and Megan and Brian. It was a really fun series. I really enjoyed that. And, like, I love magic and, the King Arthur, Legend, and Merlin. And just one of my favorite shows is that BBC show Merlin. If you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I have it on DVD, but I'm pretty sure it's streaming somewhere. So I'll figure that out and then put it in the comments. But, oh, it's such a good show. Oh, I don't know. I love the whole myth and magic of Merlin and, Arthur and Knights around the Round Table and Camelot. So I think it was really fun to have, an X-Men series that dealt with that. So, anyway, okay. Wow, it's already like 18 minutes. I haven't even talked about the Stamp series. But like I said, I just got ahead of myself because I was so excited that we finally have like kind of more of an X-Men centered character. Because most of, like I said, Scarlet Witch, yes, but most of her, aside from the very beginning, and then, MJ, she hasn't really interacted with the X-Men more than she has the Avengers. So, yeah. Okay, so, the stamp for today is Odin. We kind of already talked about him when we were talking about Heimdall. So, let's see. This is from Tomb of Dracula, number 25, October 74. Fear, number 22, June of 74. And Supernatural Thrillers, number 12, April of 75. And this is from Thor number 147, December 76. Art by Jack Kirby and Vince Coletta. And so, yeah, we talked about Odin a little bit before. I believe he's died 3 times, protecting Asgard. The third time, the Odin Force transferred to Thor, and he became, like, the king of Asgard, Thor, Odin's son. And let's see what else. I don't know. I forget. I had, like, facts picked out that I thought were really interesting, and then I forgot them because I was so excited about Captain Britain. But, like it's always been the 9 realms, but really it's 10 realms because they tooled Angela being his daughter, and he banished or cut off like all contact with the 10th realm, heaven, when he thought his in a war with heaven, he thought his daughter had been killed, but really she, was just stolen. Um, and so, yeah, he cut off all contact. So really, it's like 10 realms because it's always 9 realms, so it's 10 realms. And then let's see. Oh, and of course, everyone knows. Oh, well, okay, like in the beginning, because you see, he has both eyes. So I think I talked about this before, how, in the beginning he had both eyes, and then at some point he gave his right eye in order for the for wisdom, in order to know how to stop Ragnarok. Um, oh, and Thor actually, when Odin died the third time, he destroyed the looms of fate, so that ended basically Asgard and Ragnarok. Um, and Odin came back when Asgard was threatened by world eaters. Um, yeah, like I said, I got so excited by Captain Britain and Excalibur, that I forgot what else I was going to say about Odin. But that's okay. I mean, I know I've talked about Odin before. Like, it's not like he's a totally brand new character, and it's not like you guys don't know really who he is. Um, so I guess I'll just end this video at that. Dazzler's sleeping on the couch, so she definitely wasn't going to join for this video because she's, I guess, super tired from doing nothing all day while I've been at work. So anyway, but yeah, I'm sorry I rambled on too much, and so I hope you don't hold that against me and join me again in the future for more videos. Until then, bye.